Hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport. This is a slightly different video than the usual. Well, I have dedicated a video to buses previously, but this evening's video is dedicated both to buses and model cars. So we're still talking about railways because these are railway layout vehicles. And in this case here, what have we got? We're talking about Oxford Diecast 00176 scale. So, as you already know from probably a previous past video when I talked about buses, I was talking I think about Leyland Leopards. I'll try and remember to put the video in the description box. I'm also a bus enthusiast and I have quite a collection of British 00 scale model buses. In fact, you also saw a couple of E1 service at Drossen buses when I introduced the Ginty and my venture into 00 scale 176. Of course, it's an excuse also to source some other, mainly not so much buses, because I have plenty of buses. I've got some lorries as well, or trucks, but I don't have many cars. So right now, first of all, I'm going to introduce you this pair here. So these came as a set, a London Transport souvenir set. So here's the plastic showcase, which is slightly cracked on top, and the base. Righto, here's the base here. Right, that's it. But I'm not really interested in keeping things in a showcase. They'll be going in my own showcase, which is behind me. Maybe you've seen it in some of the videos, the ones where you actually see me. Behind me I have my showcase with model cars and things inside, which I actually have to tidy up, rearrange and dust, because GE, it's needing a dust. Anyway, let's not ramble too long, because I do know that I have a tendency for wandering off the beaten track, and talk about what we've got here. So here we've got a pair of Oxford Diecast models. So first of all, we're going to first talk about what was the main attraction. The Austin FX4 taxi, the typical black cab or hackney carriage, which is identified universally as the London taxi, but this taxi is common, well, was, because now these are no longer in production, have been replaced by the development of black cabs, the TX1 range. Nowadays in London there are electric vehicle hybrid taxis, but the FX4 is the icon. It's as London and British as the Routemaster bus, which is behind it. So this is the typical British taxi, and it was a typical British taxi, or the black cab is a typical British taxi because it's spread all over in all the main cities in the UK. I'm from Glasgow, and in Glasgow FX4s were 10 a penny. And then there were also metro cabs, but that's another story. The metro cab was made by Metro Camo Works, MCW. It's a completely different thing. So more square, 1980s design, 4 transit running units, fiberglass bodywork. And I have a short video which I will of a metro cab, which I'll post on the channel. Right, back to business now. I'm trying hard not to wander away. So here we are, the FX4. So this is an It's an Oxford Diecast FX4. It's a very nice little model. It's actually really quite well detailed. Maybe the number plate's a bit on the big side. I think the number plate is a bit overscale, but we know that many things are slightly bigger when we're going in small scale. But the taxi is very good, very well proportioned, I would say. In fact, we could compare it with, here's another taxi that's waiting to be fixed. This one here, you can see and say that it's not bad. Maybe that rear wing is slightly too deep. Let's compare it to another taxi I have in my collection. I'm coming. Bear with me. Here's another welly taxi. Oops, that's got a slightly bigger scale. It's a bit dusty. Let's compare. This has got this chrome strip down the side, which might make it look less deep. I don't know. Front wing seems good to me. Let's put them one on top of another and have a look at them. Pull the lighting down. I think it's quite good. Anyway, it's a good model, this one, this Oxford Diecast taxi. So let's put the bigger scale ones away out the road, because we are not here to talk about them. This is going to be restored. I have to fit the taxi. This is a job. We made a video about this one here. I've never got around to doing it. This has to be dismantled, cleaned, etc, etc. Okay, back to business. So this is the FX4 taxi for the 00, the small 90 by 100 centimeter layout, when we will be running 00 trains, because it will be a 100% British setting. We're back to taxis. As I was saying, these were common throughout the UK, and in Glasgow we also had them. But while in London they've got automatic gearboxes, they always had automatics. In fact, the FX4 was the first cab or hackney carriage or black cab with an automatic gearbox, with the previous FX3 had a manual crash gearbox, meaning a non-synchro mesh gearbox. The FX4 came with an automatic. In provincial cities, and in particular provincial cities, we can say provincial, or cities in other nations of the UK. Let's speak properly, because Scotland is one of the constituent nations of the UK. So if we want to talk about provincial in Scotland, it won't be. Edinburgh is definitely not provincial. Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland. Maybe Glasgow could be provincial compared to Edinburgh, but in Glasgow we think that we are not really very provincial. In fact, well, that's, there's a bit of competition between Glasgow and Edinburgh, but we like Edinburgh. We like Edinburgh as well. I like Edinburgh. Very nice city. Very, very nice city. Anyway, we do say in Glasgow that when you go to visit somebody from Edinburgh and they welcome you at home, they'll tell you, you'll have had your tea, meaning that they're not planning to offer you any. But this is just, and then of course the people in Edinburgh say that the best thing of Glasgow is the road to Edinburgh, and the Glaswegians say the same, that the best thing in Edinburgh is the road to Glasgow. So this is just local pride, and a bit of patter, and a bit of leg pulling, if you want to say. Right, so back to mentioning FX4s in Glasgow. In Glasgow, FX4s were generally manual transmission. Glasgow and Edinburgh, because both cities have got lots of hills. Glasgow is in fact built on 11 hills, and some are very, very, very steep hills indeed. For instance, if you go to Glasgow, go to Gardner Street, that's in Partick, and in Partick, Gardner Street is a very, very steep street. I can't remember the gradient, but that was a road where that was a street where the Albion Works, the made buses and lorries, tested their vehicles that come along from Scotstoun, which is not far from Partick, and where the Albion Works were, and test the vehicles going up ballasted chassis or complete vehicles, driving up and then down Gardner Street. And I assure you, it's a steep, steep climb. So that's And I always remember, I've been up Gardner Street in a taxi once. It's quite something. You hear the diesel engine clattering away. So that's why in Glasgow very often they were buying second-hand taxis from London. They were taking out the automatic transmission and putting a manual one in. So this is the taxi. So it's a good taxi, not bad at all. I like it. It's very nice. And along with the taxi, we also have a Routemaster bus. Ah, yes, and regarding the taxi, so I wanted to show you the taxi, the proportion, beside the other 300 Oxford Diecast vehicles I have. So I've got a big Wolseley police car. I bought this in Glasgow years ago. And I bought this because of a funny story, a family story from my mother. But I'll tell you that in a different video. I have to tell you this story because it's really very good. And so this is from a family story. This my mum when she was very little, and it's the time my mum got a lift in the police car. She was about, I'll have to ask her how old she was. She must have been about 6 or 7, I don't know. Anyway, and no, she wasn't arrested. And an Austin E40, with RAC. It's an RAC patrol car. So the RAC is one of the 2 automobile association clubs in Britain. So road recovery, road assistance, etc., etc. We have the RAC, and we also have the AA, the Automobile Association. So RAC is Royal Automobile Club, and AA is the Automobile Association, which existed, they're still in existence, in competition with one against the other. But my grandfather, he had an RAC membership. And oh, I see here there's a slight dent on the front there's a slight dent on the chip off the front number plate here. That might be the time I dropped it on the floor, and everything was okay, but it had a wee dent there on the front number plate. Oh well, it gives it an in-service look. Butterfingers, I remember dropping it when I was putting it back into the cupboard over there and saying some bad words. Okay, they're not the kind of things I say on camera. So these are the 3 cars, and you can see that, I mean, I know these vehicles, the proportions are correct. Austin E40, you can see, is shorter in length and shorter in height compared to the big FX4. And the Wolseley is a big, but obviously it's lower than FX4. It's not so tall because it's a motor car and not a taxi. So we can see them here compared side by side. It's also of an older generation, so the police has got pretty vintage. I'll have to decide what to call the 90 by 100 layout when it's being British, and also what to call it when it's being continental, because it's going to be double scale, double nationality. Probably the same name but translatable. That's a good idea. Okay, so that's enough about we've spoken about the small cars. Let's pop the cars out the roads, and now we'll mention the bus. So this is, I've never seen an Oxford Diecast bus. This is a London Master Routemaster. So it's an RM, so what you call an RM Routemaster, meaning the short version with 4 bays, is not the RML, which is the slightly longer 30-foot version. But we'll talk in detail about Routemasters in another bus-related video, which I will bore you with bus-related videos. And I've already done one. Bore you, well, maybe. There are even among my followers people who like buses, and we will talk about buses. Among them, John, I think you'll like this video. Anyway, follow my friend John of Mega Bread Van. Very nice channel, very interesting. I'll give him, you see, a shout out, correct? Shout out. That's the term. It's very YouTuber trendy shout out thing. So being trendy tonight. Shout out. Shout out to John of what's his name? Of Mega Bread Van. We're going to look him up. Right. Back to the Routemaster. So this Routemaster here is the Oxford Diecast version, and it's not really great. More than it looks very much like it's quite toyish compared to, for example, this is the EFE Routemaster, exclusive first editions still in 1/76 scale, and this one is patriotically in a Scottish livery. This is RM 720 in Clydeside Scottish livery. So these arrived in Glasgow in the 1980s with the deregulation, the dreadful and dreadful deregulation that caused absolute havoc in the British bus scene. I do not agree with the concept of deregulation in public transport. I think it's a very bad idea. But it was a bad idea that produced a very interesting bus environment for bus enthusiasts, because we started seeing all sorts of things all over the place and lots of different buses. So Routemasters made their way up to Glasgow, because suddenly, with competition among buses on the same line, you needed to have fast loaders, and a bus with a conductor is a fast loader. So you get on the bus and then the conductor goes around and sells the tickets, and you're much faster. You get away from the stop much quicker than with a one-man operated bus or one-person operated bus, whether using the contemporary speak, where the driver has to also sell the tickets. Of course, now things are different. There are magnetic cards, I suppose, all sorts of things. So technology has evolved. But now we're stuck. We're in the 1980s, right? Let's go back to a cash economy, money, pennies, etc., etc. Okay, so let's compare the buses. So, this is high technology. Cardboard box on computer. Right, so you can see here's the Oxford Diecast bus and here's the EFE. First of all, the Oxford Diecast is a wee bit more, it's not so well finished, it's more toyish, its proportions are not absolutely perfect. Now let's not drop that onto my computer, otherwise my computer technician will be happy, because you'll be fixing some self-inflicted damage to the computer. You can see, for example, that the cab windscreen is too tall and narrow. The overall nose is bigger diameter of headlights. We also have compared to the I mean, I've seen these things, I've seen these in real life, and I can assure you that the EFE fits. That's a Routemaster, absolutely. So you see that, blow it up 70, make it bigger, and you'll see that it's a Routemaster. This is a decent rendition of a Routemaster, but compared to a model which is a realistic model, it comes second best. Let's see the other side. The colour's nice and rich. You can see that Clydeside went for a more tomato soup red. It's not I don't remember the shade of the London shade. Another interesting channel you can watch, very interesting, is Pete and his bus. Pete and his bus, that's a good channel about London buses. Look him up, he's very, very interesting. And the other thing, I think the London transport lettering is a bit too big, but we can compare that. Excuse me, I'm going to get another London bus. Another London bus in here. One that says London Transport. I'm coming. I'm behind you. Yep. I'm getting carried away with buses tonight. It's a bus video. Bus nuts around. Oh my, that's all dusty. Right. here's another London bus. This is quite an early RT, IAC RT casting by EFE. This is the very first RT that came out by Exclusive First Editions. And if you see, look at that, see the size of the London transport script writing on the side. It's definitely smaller and more, this is more in scale compared to this, but it doesn't really matter at the moment. So let's park the RT down here out of sight and go back to the RM comparison. So here we are, Routemaster versus Routemaster. So we'll also take a look at the rear. For some reason this thing is missing its back window. There's no rear glazing here, this is missing. Don't know what happened there. Bought it second hand, so I have no idea what happened to it. But that is not really a problem. Glazing can be replaced. So what am I going to do? And then there's another thing that stands out that's absolutely a finger, and also the rear emergency exit. You can see this is smaller. This is a realistic length and this one's smaller, but okay, if we start comparing them side by side, all the of course the Oxford diecast comes out the loser. And another thing that we'll see, that we can see this very well at the front, is that on the Oxford diecast, the front destination is, there's no moulding, because here on the EFE there's moulding, right? That is moulded. See if you can see that there's a moulding. There's not just a sticker. The same thing here at the back and at the side. There. In this case here is just a great big sticker. And great big is the word. It's a very big sticker, or a very big decal. It's an enormous decal. It's gigantic. Look at the back. Look at the size of that. I mean, I've never seen a Routemaster with such a large rear destination blind, and the side destination blind, which is a relatively small affair in the real bus. It's this enormous thing that goes right over onto the advertising billboard, which is a bit of a pity, because the advertising billboard is actually, this is just a sticker. It's not, there's not even any, now there is, here there's a realistic, there's a piece of a moulding here on the bodywork, because that's a panel. This is a join between the side panel and the rear panel over there. So what am I going to do? What are we going to do? The wheels are also pretty just black plastic. Then the other thing, if we put them on their side, we'll see, let's see what we see. Stand them on their back sides. There you go. Let's have a look. Watch out for the special effects. Let's just lower the tripod and the phone and the tripod. Okay, I don't know what you can see, but you should be able to see. Okay, right. Righto, so we've got the light shining on the chassis. So the chassis, the underneath of the EFE model, is pretty simple, but it's quite realistic. We've got the engine as it's offset to the near side. Then the whole transmission shaft is also offset to the near side, with an offside, with a, oops, that phone is about to go tip over, and the actual differential is moved over here closer to the near side, because you don't want a centrally mounted differential, takes up space, floor gets too high, etc, etc. On the Oxford diecast, they seem to have recycled the chassis of some lorry, by the look of it, with a totally non-realistic rear-mounted diesel tank. That's supposed to be a fuel tank at the back. There is no fuel tank under the rear platform of a Routemaster. The diesel tank is over here, correctly at the, it's on the offside. Yes, the diesel tank is over there on the offside. Of course, it's not represented here either, but there isn't really a visible diesel tank. That will be an air tank over here, but the underneath of the Oxford diecast is completely phony. So what am I going to do with this? Of course, I'm not going to sell it on because I don't have a London Transport Routemaster. I've got a London Transport RML, the long Routemaster. I have a London Transport RT. I've got a London Transport RF. We'll see them in other videos, but I do not have a London Transport Routemaster. So we'll just improve it. So this will be another parallel job which I will do. One thought was very ambitious. I say, I'll make a Kelvin Scottish livery, but that is 2 tones of blue and the yellow front with diagonal stripes, and that is a big job, including sanding, taking the thing to bits. No, it's not going to happen. No way, Jose, as they say. What I'm going to do, I'm going to improve this bus. So I've got the Clydeside Routemaster for the exact dimension of the destination blinds, the layout, the destination blinds here at the front, the root box. I'll peel this. Is it a sticker? It's a decal. I'll have to get rid of that somehow. I'll get rid of this decal, and I'll get rid of... I'm going to keep London Evening News because that's okay, but I'm going to get rid of this big enormous destination here, and I'll keep the number 12, but I'll simply make a new destination board, a new root box here at the front, and a new rear one as well in the correct size. And luckily I have all the tools to do it, because of course it'll just be flat. Of course we can't change that, but at least we'll improve the bus by... I'll also paint a wee black number plate here at the back, another black number plate here at the front. I might even give it a registration. I could give it a registration, that would be an idea. I could, but I don't have, give it a number as well, a fleet number. That would be an idea, to give it an identity. And we'll see what we can do, but this is a nice simple job. The paint job is very good. Then there's another thing, no twin wheels at the back. So, but I'm not going to be changing the wheels, no way, but they'll do. To give the idea, anyway, they are thicker, so they are like twin tires at the back of there. So this will be a job that we'll do with this Oxford diecast Routemaster, which will go into another. Anyway, I've already made some videos on fixing diecast cars. I have fixed even other diecast models before restarting the channel, and I'll talk about them. I might make, a day of the week where I talk about these things, so that to interspace them between the railway work. So we'll have Model Kit Tuesday, and we could have diecast model Sunday, or diecast model Friday. That could be an idea, because that way we'll actually cover completely the different modelling jobs I like to do in my free time, which always seems to be in the evening. Right, so that's that for the moment, and I hope you found this video interesting about buses, about cars and buses. Let's park some buses up here, put some cars as well, a taxi as well. There's a black cab. There's a black cab. It's a nice black cab. And if you liked the video, you can give it a like. If you subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and I'll be seeing you on the soon the 00 layout, at least with the completed rails. I have to finish some work on there right now, where we'll be able to see all the buses in a more natural environment than a cardboard box on top of the computer. And we can even, And if there's any breakdowns, we needn't worry, because the box is too small, so I can't drive it in. We also have the bus, the tow wagon. We also have a tow wagon, which is a Guy Arab Hong Kong tow wagon. Very nice model, this one here. This is, I think, if I don't remember badly, I don't remember the brand of this one here. It's not. It's the same ones that made Britbus, because it's got posable front wheels. Very nice model. Very nice. Made in Hong Kong. Made in China probably, but it's a Hong Kong. It's a Hong Kong collection. And this is a really very nice China motor bus. Really very interesting model. Like that. Look at that. It's super detailing. So we'll talk about this in an oncoming diecast model videos, and we'll actually finally be able to have a look at the model bus collection and the 00 vehicle collection, along with the 00 trains. So that's where their place is. Okie doke. And just in case anybody else breaks down, we also have the RAC. There we go. And if people misbehave, we have the police. But the police, there's a police, there's a police, there's a police. Okay. Cheerio. See you next time. It was a long video.